too. The music that
I
goes
don't know
with
if it was so much about being in the chamber. Maybe you just missed the shot.
Well, we know who won the game, so there you go. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside a couple of my digital friends. I miss you, gentlemen. NBA champs Richard Jefferson, Matt Barnes, thank you both for being here. We have a jam-packed show today. The second round of All-Star voting just dropped. We'll show you the results in just a minute. Also coming up, we're going to discuss how the Lakers balance LeBron's impressive MVP campaign with managing his workload throughout this season. This comes off the heels of 3 straight overtime wins. And a little bit later, Devin Booker was asked what went through his mind seeing Giannis square up for a potential game-winning shot. Book said, "We're in good shape." Shade or no shade? That is the question. First, though, a lot of sports teams like to put sayings up on the walls around the locker room. The Spurs, for example, have framed a quote about pounding a rock, explaining that you can hammer a rock 100 times without seeming much happening. But when the rock splits on the 101st blow, it's the product of all the work that came before it. I don't know what the Dallas Mavericks have up on their walls, but this year they may want to think about one of those motivational cat posters that says, "It's not how you start, it's how you finish." After all, Dallas's start this season, not exactly peachy. The team had one of the league's toughest early schedules. It had injury issues. Then it had COVID issues, like serious ones. 3 players were quarantined while on a road trip in Denver. They had to stay locked in their hotel rooms for 10 days while the team carried on without them. And even once they were released, it was a struggle to get their conditioning back. Combine that with the reduced offensive firepower that came with having traded away Seth Curry, as well as some just outright lazy nights on defense. And the Mavs' spot in the standings plummeted right along with Luka's MVP hopes. Yet slowly, things in Dallas have been turning around. The team has won 4 of its last 5, and while there's still a long road to walk, at least the Mavs seem to be finally heading in the correct direction. Like take last night, which kicked off with a mini controversy over the national anthem. The Mavs had not been playing the anthem before this season. As Mark Cuban came on The Jump yesterday and explained, they had heard from a number of people and community groups saying the anthem doesn't represent them. But after being overruled by the league office, the Mavs did in fact play the song last night. And with all order, I guess, restored to the universe, they got to go on with the business of trying to shut down the Atlanta Hawks. And it would not be easy. John Collins had himself a night. Trae Young was Trae Young, pushing Atlanta to a 13-point lead by the middle of the third quarter. But then in the fourth, the Mavs surged, shooting 15 of 22, 7 of 9 from 3. The team's role players actually paid off all the space they were getting from the Hawks doubling Doncic and managed to hold a 1-point lead with just 5 seconds left on the clock. And that's when things got even more spicy. The Hawks inbound to Danilo Gallinari. He gets a decent fading look that comes up short. And the Mavs get the win, but let's rewind. Zoom in on Young here. He was setting a back screen for Collins when Willie Cauley-Stein turned and ran into his face. Young got back up, but as soon as the final buzzer sounded, he raced toward the officials, just livid about not getting the call. Afterward, here is both Atlanta coach Lloyd Pierce and Cauley-Stein.
Willie Cauley-Stein ran Trae over, and that's a foul. It's a foul. That's why Trae's on the floor. It blows up our play. But it's unfortunate.
I didn't even see Trae, so he's a smart kid. He was trying to get a quick little foul to shoot free throws to ice the game. No way he was going to give him that call for the game. So good try, though. That was smooth. It was sneaky.
The officials confirmed their ruling after the game, but at least for the Mavericks, the story of the night was much bigger picture. Last season, Dallas was notorious for folding late in games. This season, the numbers are much better, with last night yet another example to give Mavericks fans hope the team can in fact salvage the season and climb into playoff contention. In so many different ways, inside games, inside a season, it really is not how you start, but how you finish. Keep the poster up, and the sky's the limit. So, Richard, what do you think success looks like now for the Dallas Mavericks? Because preseason we were saying, hey, top 3 in the West, Luka maybe for MVP, we'll see. What is success right now?
I think success right now for them is really just getting to the postseason and making some sort of run, a second round. You know, you got to understand that everybody is dealing with stuff, whether it's COVID, you look at what's going on with the Nets and KD off the court and then quarantined for a second time. So everyone's dealing with things. I think for the Dallas Mavericks, they got to get healthy. They have to continue improving their defense. And then they just have to kind of play the cards that they've been dealt this year. It's going to be the same for everyone.
I think the Dust just have to settle off all the hype. I think they left us super excited about the way they played last year in the bubble, particularly against the playoffs, against the Clippers in the playoffs. And then all the hype surrounding Luka, odds-on favorite to win MVP this year. So there's so much hype on this young team coming into the season. I think that got into their heads. Now the dust is starting to clear. They're starting to find their footing, and they're only a game and a half out of 8. So to piggyback off what Richard said, getting to the playoffs is definitely the goal, but trying to get out of that first round too, considering they really didn't improve this offseason and they let go someone like Seth Curry.
Yeah, and look, they thought getting Josh Richardson back in that trade would bolster their defense, which was a big weak point for them last year. But you got to actually make the parts work when you switch parts around. And the schedule has been tough. And I know that's not an excuse. And Richard, you're right. Everyone deals with that. But they had what I believe was the league's hardest schedule to start. So the point is, when it gets easier now, you have to take advantage. They are starting to do that. Let's move on to the Lakers, because they beat the Thunder by 1 point in overtime last night. Another 1-point game in the West. This, though, was the third straight overtime win for LA. Their sixth straight win overall. LeBron scored 10 in the fourth quarter, hit the game-tying 3 in regulation. And in overtime, he made some huge defensive plays. After the game, Coach Frank Vogel said this.
He made several defensive plays, to be honest with you. He's really leading the charge, taking a matchup of Horford on certain situations. And I'd say Wes Matthews had 2 great defensive stops on Horford post-ups as well. But that's what Bron does. Bron does on both sides of the ball. That's why he's probably going to be this year's MVP. Carrying the load offensively and quarterbacking the defense, number 1 defense in the league, and taking these tough assignments and making these plays down the stretch. So, he's playing terrific.
So ESPN actually asked 100 media members. This is a poll that Tim Bontemps conducts every year. It mimics the postseason awards voting with the points awarded for different guys for different places. He also tries to take a sampling of actual voters from different markets, so you really get an accurate sense of what voters are thinking. LeBron in first place right now, 53 first place votes, followed by Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. Remember, Embiid gets a lot of extra points for being second or third on people's ballots. That's how Tim said the numbers kind of went out this time. Richard, how difficult is it going to be then to balance LeBron's MVP campaign? Because we know he actually wants another one. We know he deserves to get another one, and he thinks this is the year he could get it, with also making sure he has enough rest to get through to and be fresh for the playoffs.
Well, with all due respect to everybody in the Laker organization, this is about LeBron James. If he feels like he has an opportunity to win a championship, and I'll take you back. I was on the team when it was Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double, James Harden's historic season, and LeBron James was up there in the top 3. And they asked them, hey, do you think rest should be going into the equation? Mm-hmm. And they all said that, yes, you shouldn't be resting if you're fighting for an MVP. So he, every season since then, has taken upon himself to play as many games as possible unless he's injured. So I don't see him missing too many games because he's seen people use rest against him.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a tough situation to be in. At this point, individual accolades strengthen his argument, but we really don't need him. I know LeBron is in it for rings. Never got a chance to play with LeBron, but I'm sure it's similar to Kobe, with good luck trying to get someone like Kobe or LeBron to take a night off when they're not really hurt. So, we just hope that, he's going to have the enough energy in the tank, because we know it's going to be a long run for them. They're odds-on favorite to win the chip again. And if he's able to pick up an MVP in that process, which he's deserved in the past and he hasn't got, I'm all for it.
And look, Kobe is someone who should have ended up with more MVPs than he got also, and was a victim a little bit to who had the best numbers in a particular season versus who is the best player, which I could do a whole dissertation on, but I won't today because I like both of you guys. I will say this, though. If you look at the numbers of games missed in terms of MVPs and how they in the past have done, these are the past MVPs, right? These are the guys who actually won the award in that year, and this is the percentage of games they played. So there's actually room for LeBron in a 72-game season to hit that 86% mark that, say, Giannis hit last year. He could take 10 games off in this 72-game season and still be in that same part of the conversation. I don't expect him to take 10 games off if he is healthy. Of course, Giannis took a couple games off because he was injured last year. And it's just a great what if, guys, when you look at last year's MVP race. LeBron was coming on so strong in March when the league shut down. There was really a feeling he had just beaten Giannis head-to-head. Giannis was out with an injury. There was a feeling he could be out for an entire month. And who knows, the entire course of LeBron's MVP life would have been different. Of course, the entire course of the country would have been different as well. We will see what happens with it this year. Stay tuned in this show. We're going to take a very short break, but coming up, the second batch of All-Star fan votes are in. Stick around to find out how high Klay Thompson is now on the leaderboard. He's gone up, people. He's gone up
leaderboard?
Despite not playing in any games this season. You're way down on it, Richard. We won't talk about that. But first, it's time for our distant replay. This date, 97. You guys remember Michael Jeffrey Jordan?
Muggsy!
100, no timeout for Chicago. Muggsy's third three-point.
And yet,
Last minute, we just watched a Jordan highlight of him knocking down a shot. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, this might be a call earlier in the game that he possibly can get, but decided outcome, the referees did a good job of letting the actual players
put up highlights nightly. But we've had a few of these that have been so close to being all-timers.
Oh,
Not quite yet. Not quite yet. We're getting there, though. Come on.
Yeah.
Miss Walls.
But you can tell how good they are when we steal.
Yeah, that's certainly true. Bucks Suns, Phoenix setting up a wall to defend Giannis, but he powers through and dunks it. Richard, it's like the Kool-Aid man in those old commercials, bursting through the wall. No?
yeah, we know he can do that. We know he can dunk with the best. He's one of the best dunkers in NBA history. That's not where that game was decided. That's
No.
all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
We're going to say a little more about this later, Richard, so you can just hold your thoughts.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. One of the greats getting to the basket. Like I said, the question is, and I'm sure we're going to discuss it later.
Yes. We'll just leave it. It's like a teaser. We'll leave it at that. Make elevation. There was a dunk contest in Denver last night. Isaac Okoro. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, excuse me. And then RJ Hampton.
Goodness.
Oh, God, yes, RJ. Woo! Look like a young RJ out there. Oh, wait, that is a young RJ.
I was going to say Lamar Stevens. All right, old RJ, which is your favorite?
I like the Okoro. Oh, you know, the Okoro one. The other one was a transition. Okoro one was the best one.
Yeah, I like the Okoro, and then Stevenson is a close second. RJ Barrett comes in third, but all explosive young players and fun to watch.
Very nice. All right, Miss Iso Ball. Let's go back to Hawks Mavericks. Danilo Gallinari doing a whole bunch of jab stepping. This is a lot of work for what would turn into an air ball, Matt.
When you get a little older, you depend so much more on your footwork. And he thought that his jab steps were going to work. Just unfortunately, he didn't have the legs to finish the shot.
You can jab all you want. Like, he was jabbing from 28 feet, right? Like, that's knock it down, do whatever, but you can't jab for 12 seconds and shoot an air ball.
Shouts for Tim Hardaway Jr., by the way. Good defense there. Good defense on the last play of the game. It got a little swallowed up by all of the Trae Young brouhaha, but it was pretty good. It's also the province of the older player, right? Extra jab steps, extra head fakes, extra pump shots. Everything so that
Everything
I can just move the defender out of the way.
Everything you got.
Miss Lobs. DeAndre Jordan caught 3 last night. Richard, he's looking extra bouncy in this game, right?
Yeah, no, DeAndre, again, when you got Kyrie, KD, and James Harden, Kyrie and James Harden especially are two of the best lob throwers in the game. This is why DeAndre's their guy. Like, DeAndre's success, you know, defensively, the way he boards, the way he finishes in the paint, it's going to be very, very key to the Nets' success going forward.
Great point, Rich. I think that a lot rides on him as far as his ability to anchor the defense. And then I got a chance to play with him in Lob City. He was the best lob catcher in the game. They got to start utilizing that.
And look, he didn't have a great game the game before. He actually had a little heart-to-heart with Steve Nash. They said it was a difficult conversation in a couple moments, but they're both pros, obviously, been around the block, and it paid off with this game last night. In fact, let's run it back to DeAndre Jordan's best alley-oops. 2012 rises over Tony Allen for the flush.
Oh. See, like, we got Chris Paul. He's had Chris Paul, Kyrie, James Harden. This man has been very fortunate with some of his lob throwers. Gosh, Tony.
2014, dunking all over Rudy Gobert.
Oh, and looks at him, too. That's not it. But okay, 2 and 3 are great. We know that number 1, in my opinion, is one of the best dunks in NBA history.
Well,
I don't know where it ranks.
Let's get to it. 2013. Poor Brandon Knight. And Matt, there you are at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, look at the little kids. Ew, show the face. Ew.
Man. Yeah, I just witnessed a crime, and I didn't want to be questioned by the cops, so I had to get out of there. So I took off to the other side of the court.
This is just brutal. Oh. And this will live forever. I don't care how long the NBA, how many hundreds of years forward it goes.
The dunk face.
That dunk will live forever. All right, let's move on to the latest batch of all-star fan votes that were just released. Let's start out east. KD, Giannis, Embiid, the top 3 front court vote getters. Beal, Kyrie, Harden, top 3 among backcourt players. And shouts to Bradley Beal, by the way, wasn't even going to the All-Star game last year. This year he's leading voting. Out west, LeBron atop all front court players, 4.3 million votes and counting. He's followed by Jokic, Kawhi. In the backcourt, Steph is number 1, followed by Luka and Dame. And Klay Thompson, who, let me just say this again, hasn't played a game since the 2019 finals, in 8th place, moved up from 10th place. So he now has 225,000 votes. I think Klay's going to have to suit up, Richard. I think the people are demanding it. And he can go out in the walking boot.
And this is why everybody complains about fan votings. I know it's cute. I know it's funny. And there's things that for us to talk about. But look, Klay does not need to be voted. Actually, if you're out for the season, there are some exceptions. You probably shouldn't be on the all-star ballot voting situation. That's just my opinion.
Hey, Klay.